Welcome to another episode of R&R Garage. I'm your host Dan. We will be working on this EJ257 that will be going in this 06 STI. Today we'll be turning this short block into a long block. We'll be installing ARP head studs. I've already done some work on it already. I've already installed an 11mm oil pump. I've already installed a brand new STI oil pan, a Killer Bee oil pickup, and a brand new STI baffle. We'll be putting the cams in it, we'll put the valve covers on it, we can put the timing and all the sprockets on the front of it, and get this from a short block into a long block today. First we'll start with our ARP head studs. If you look, these are a bottom end head stud, so when you screw these in, it doesn't pull the bolt left or right. You don't want the studs to pull one way or the other. They do make two different types of studs. They make one without a bottom end and they make one with a bottom end. I like the ones with the bottom ends because it doesn't pull the studs left or right when they do get to the bottom of the thread. Alright, now that we got our head studs in and torqued, we're just going to take a little bit of carb cleaner and we're going to go over this head gasket surface and get any kind of oil or fingerprints. We're checking for high spots or any kind of, if you're doing an engine that has already been ran, trying to get rid of any type of gasket material. You're looking for anything that can cause an issue later on down the road. You want this surface completely flat. So we're going to go ahead and add our head gasket in now. So this is an MLS gasket made for turbo applications. We'll grab our head. We'll do the same thing. Just make sure our gasket surface is nice and clean. I'm going to go ahead and set this down on top of it. These heads have already been run. They only got about 500 miles on them. They've already had the buckets checked. That's one thing that you got to do when you're building these engines, is making sure that when you go to do your valve lash, these are a cam on bucket design. So you want to make sure you got 8 thousandths clearance on your intake and 12 thousandths clearance on your exhaust. So again, we're just making sure everything's nice and clean. We're not putting anything, no foreign material. We're making sure that there's nothing on this engine that can fall into it. No garbage, lint. Okay. So we want all our surfaces nice and clean. All right, what we'll be doing next is we're going to be putting our washers and our head stud nuts on and getting those torqued. I'm just taking some ARP Ultra Torque and I'm coating the washers. All you're trying to do is you're trying to lube the back of the washer, so when we go to get a torque value on these, that they're torqued properly so that they slide on the surfaces. And these will get torqued in sequence. Okay, now that we got all our washers on, we'll get our nuts coated as well. Once we get all these nuts coated and ready to go, we can torque this on. I'm just trying to show you how easy it is to do these engines. Most people shy away from this type of stuff. There are a few special tools that you'll need that you'd have to get Subaru specific special tools. So let's get some light on here. So we'll go ahead and get these run down and torqued. These are a specific type of torque sequence that we have to do. You start in the middle, top. Right now I'm just running it down to where they touch the head. Like I said, the first torque sequence will be 30. And you want to start at the top in the middle. Bottom middle. Upper right. Lower left. Lower right. Upper left. Then we're going to go to 60 and do the same sequence. The 90 is the one that everybody's worried about. That one I'll definitely worries you a little bit on aluminum. All right, we're on our final pass of 90. This is the one that everybody goes right at the very end, right before it clicks. It's like, oh, is it gonna break? All right, I'm just gonna verify real quick. And that head is torqued on. Next, we're going to put some assembly lube on our cam saddles. And the top of our buckets. So what you're looking at here is our cam buckets and our saddles. We need to put assembly lube in all those, get these all smeared. You want to put plenty of lube in all these. That way we don't have a dry start when we go to start it. We're going to pre-oil this engine before we start it anyway. We'll pressurize oil it to about 70 psi on the oil pressure before we even start it. So go ahead and set our cams in. Just Just make sure they're free and clear of any kind of junk and lint. You know, you want to inspect them. So get our cam set in here. That's our exhaust cam. Okay. Set our intake cam in. One thing you want to do when you do this, you want to make sure that your little splits for your Hall effect for your cam pickup isn't all full of junk. So we got our cam set in. Okay, these are those pockets I was telling you about. You want to make sure those are free and clear of anything that any kind of garbage or junk in them, because your cam pickup is right there. We already got our spark plugs in, so we're not worried about that. All we need to do is get our cam retainers in and put our valve cover on. So I'm just kind of make sure there's nothing in them. Okay. All right. Those look nice and clear. Cams seem free, good to go. All right, now that we have our cams in, we're gonna put our front cam retainer plate in. I've already RTV'd and assembly lubed our cam saddles. So let's go ahead and flip this over and get this on. Get that on. Get our bolts in. We'll go ahead and just snug these down. These torqued. Okay, these got to go back in the same spots they came out of. They are marked as intake and forward. An exhaust forward. So get some assembly lube on this. And just make sure you look up your torque specs for each one of your engines. I'm not going to go over torque specs because I just want to make sure that everybody looks up their own torques. For the fact that every engine is different a little bit, so I know my torque values for what I'm working on. So we'll get these torqued and then make sure that our cams are free. I'm just going to take a cam gear or a cam sprocket, stick it on there, and make sure that they're free like they are. Make sure they're not bound up, which they seem to be just fine. Okay. What we're going to do next is we're going to verify our valve lash. So what we want to do is find the base circle. We want 8 thousandths on our intakes. Which that's perfect. Eight thousandths, that's perfect. And then we want to check our exhaust, and we want to make sure that those are at 12 thousandths. Same thing, you want to make sure you're on your base circle. And that one's good. That one's good. That one's good. And that one's good. So we got our cam retainers in. We verified that our intake valves, our bucket shims are at 8 thousandths on intake and 12 thousandths on exhaust. We are ready to put the valve cover on next and button this side up. We can put our front cam seals in, and we'll flip it over and do the other side. All right, what we want to do is we want to put RTV here, 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 and here. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure all these transitions here are leak proof. So it goes there, and then same thing here. All right, so you want it to look like that. Here, 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 and there. Now we can put our valve cover on. Now that we got our valve cover in place, we're going to do the same thing on our torque sequence. So we're going to torque these in sequence. Same thing as the heads, starting in the middle and working your way out. And that side is done. All right, next we're going to put in cam seals. So what we want to do when we put these cam seals in is we want to get this RTV out of the cam seal surface from when we put it together. So inside here, you want to get this RTV out of here. Okay, so when we go to pound in our seals, we have a clean surface for them to go into. What we're going to do is we take red Loctite. I use red because it's the best for this. And you want to just, on the outside edge of this, you want to put a little bit of red Loctite on this. Okay. Not much. Just want to coat the outside edge of red Loctite. And this will seal up any imperfections in the casting, and it also holds the seal in better so you don't have an issue with them coming out. Then you take a little bit of assembly lube, and I take it and I just put it on the edge of the cam just so the seal has something to slide on. So, then we take our seal, slide it in there, and I take big socket, and I tap it in. Get these off of here. Take a big socket and I tap this in. You want to make sure it goes in straight. Okay. Got one spot that wants to give me an issue right here. There it goes. There we go. You want to look all the way around the seal and make sure that it is square. Square all the way around. That's good, that's good. You see where the old lip was riding on the old seal. You want to make sure that seal matches the distance all the way around that, so that looks good. Just want to make sure this is all the way in. One little high spot here. There we go. And that looks pretty good. All right, we'll get the upper seal on. Same thing. I'm just cleaning the seals up, make sure they don't have any grease or oil on them, so the Loctite has something to stick to. This one you don't have to put oil on the cam because it doesn't ride on. This one doesn't ride on the cam. This rides on the upper cam sprocket, so it seals against the cam sprocket, not on the actual cam itself. So we don't put any lube on this one. Get that started. Wipe those clean. Wipe those clean. Okay. Same as before, we just want to make sure our head surface is clean. Once again, now that we've got our head surface clean and our head studs in, go ahead and drop our head gasket on. Make sure you got clean hands. You don't have any oil on them, so you don't get any contaminants on here. So again, MLS gasket. Make sure you put the oil hole where it goes. I've seen these people, I've had it happen more than once where these are faced this way and the oil hole's over here and it dumps a bunch of oil on top of the engine. So it does have up, and then that's your forward. Just make sure you have a good torque wrench when you do this, one that's calibrated. You don't want to use one that's been dropped or if it hasn't been calibrated in a while. I like using one that I know for a fact I'm not going to pull the threads out of it. So same as before. We'll lube up our buckets and our saddles. And we'll drop our cams in. Just make sure they're nice and clean. No issues. Intake, exhaust. Got a little bit of assembly lube on our surfaces that we need to leave clean. It's got to be RTV'd, so you want to make sure that you clean those off. Okay. We'll get our rear cam retainers in. Again, these are marked where they go, so they don't get mixed up. Same as before, RTV in the areas that it needs to be RTV'd, and assembly lube in the saddles. do our 8,000s for intake. Perfect. 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 Eight thousandths for our intake and 12 for our exhaust. Ooh, perfect. 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 And perfect. So that means our buckets are good on both heads. If your buckets aren't good, if you don't get 12 and 8 thousandths, you will have to have either larger or smaller buckets depending on whatever your number is on the back of the bucket. It'll be a 499 or a 502. So if you want to tighten it up, the higher the number. If you want to loosen it up, it'll be the lower the number. So if you need to buy buckets and to do this, you can. Sometimes people take the valves out of the heads and have them over to the machine shop and just have them nip the valve a little bit, like a thousandths or two off each valve, depending on how much you need taken off. But you want to make sure that your valve lash on your turbo heads are right, because you don't need any valves open on your stuff. You'll burn a valve in a heartbeat. But these are good, and we can move on to putting the valve cover on. All right, we'll get our cam seals in it and we'll start on our timing set. Looks good. We're ready to do timing. Alright, next what we're going to do is we're going to put on the rear timing covers. And we need to use blue Loctite on these. Once again, you want to make sure you clean all these bolts up. Don't put them in dirty. I've already done all that ahead of time.
Let's go. I was born to kill it. I was meant to win. I am down and willing, so I will find a way.
These get torqued as well. Just like everything else on this engine, it gets 100% torqued. Alright, we can put our lower cam gear on.
night, then never right away. When it get hot in the kitchen, you decide to stay. That's how a winner's made. Stick a fork in the hater on my dinner plate. I walk into the fire like it's just a bit of flame. I switch my style up, watch the money pile up. I'ma get rich or die trying, want me switch lanes. I'm always getting better, I'ma be on 5th place. On this one, then 4th on the next. 3rd, 2nd, 1st, course, best. She showing love, give me all the raw energy. Don't stop, go ahead, get it in. Jump, knock, let me.
What we need to do is we need to get that water pump on before we put that timing cover on. So we'll do that next. We'll the water pump on, then the rear timing cover. We'll get our water pump on.
Huff and puff and blow the house down. Raw energy. Don't stop, go ahead, get it in. Jump, knock, let me in.
You want to make sure you get all these started by hand.
Huff and puff and blow the house down. I do it for the love, they perform for the checks, and I still get more. They be bored by the rest. I done put the work in, wasn't born in success. See the storm, it affects the performance. But I dance in the rain and the thunder, the drums, and I keep going hard. I won't stop till I'm done. From the bottom to the top, I'm the one. Record drop in a month, I'll be back at the top. Let's go. Raw energy. Don't stop, go ahead, get it in. Jump, knock, let me in. Huff and puff and blow the house down. Raw energy. Don't stop, go ahead.
Water pump is on. Now that water pump is on, we're going to put one more piece on before we put this timing cover on, which is your cooling hoses for your heater. Okay, we'll get our cooling hoses on, our heater hoses on. Get this in. That on, get that on.
Get it in, jump, knock, let me in. Huff and puff and blow the house down. Yeah, we blow the house down.
Right.
Yeah, we blow.
Just gotta get the 3 bolts for this. Okay. Get these in.
Blow the house down. Big moves will shake the ground. For the greats who came before us, we about to make them proud. We got to make this count. Take the ball and raise it now. Make noise so crazy loud. It's all moving, let me hear you shout. Don't
Now that that's on, we can put our rear timing cover on the driver's side.
we can turn it round. We got the fire, we burn it down. Then we'll pop champagne at the back of the club. Then I'm back with a sweat, tears back with a blood. How to get it out of mud, kinda like Predator. Get to the chopper, pockets getting fatter, so she call me Big Baba. Raw energy. Don't stop, go ahead, get it in. Jump, knock, let me in. Huff and puff and blow the house down.
Get these torqued on. Cam sprocket. One's on.
Raw energy. Don't stop, go ahead, get it in. Jump, knock, let me in. Huff and puff and blow the house down.
All right, we're gonna torque our cam sprockets. This is where the special tools come in handy.
Raw energy.
That one's on. Another special tool that you'll need, your driver's side cam holders. Since when these get put together, they are on the loaded side, So if you notice, your timing mark here and your timing mark there match. This one goes here. Your side mark, this one matches that one. These two match each other. Same thing over here. Timing mark, timing mark, timing mark. They're going to be off just a little bit. We'll move that when we go to put the belt on. But timing mark. We'll get the timing belt on and all the followers, and we'll see what's next. So these take an O-ring. O-ring goes in, cover goes on. These do not get torqued super tight. Alright, we got our crank belt guide. We got our fixtures on. We're going to go ahead and put our belt on. Just remember they are directional. It has an arrow. Slide that in there. We'll put this up here. Slide that in there. So what's nice about having the manuals is because they have belt guides from that can hold everything for you. Again with the blue Loctite. I'm just going to snug this up for now. Make sure our timing marks are on, which they are. We're good there, we're good there. There, there, there. Pull this up. Remove our fixture. Pull our grenade pin. Set our tensioner. As you can see, our timing marks line up. Okay. See it here and on your oil pump. Those line up. Those line up. Alright. Now that we have pulled our grenade pin, we need to roll the engine over 1 full revolution. Okay, we're going to put our crank bolt in, rotate the engine. One full revolution all the way around. We already got compression, so that's good. Okay. Now that we've rotated one full revolution, we want to make sure all of our timing marks match back up, which I'm just a little bit off. Right there. That matches. This matches. These match. And that matches. So, all 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The bottom ones will be off just a little bit. Adjustment here, but other than that, it does match up. Alright, now that we got our timing set, we've rolled our engine all the way over one complete revolution and we've verified timing marks. We can go ahead and put our front timing covers on. We can put our crank position sensor on. We can put our crossover tube on, our dipstick in, and do our ABCS banjo bolts, and we will officially have a EJ257 long block. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to check our timing belt for clearance for their belt guides. You want to make sure that this slides in between the belt and the belt guide, and then you adjust the bolts. That is to give you the proper clearance so the belt doesn't rub on the belt guide. That one's good. That one's good. And that one's good. You want to check 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure that this tool slides in between there snugly. You don't want it so tight you can't pull this in and out, but you don't want it so loose it just goes in and out real easily. So this goes all the way in and it comes back out. So, okay. So all 4 of our belt guides are good. These can be adjusted just the same way you do these. It's the same thing, but these are all 3 of these are also are easy to get to, and these ones are already set. So we'll put this bolt in. Torqued. Alright, we're good there. That's done. Torqued, torqued, torqued. Cover on. So we got to put this on. front timing covers are on. We can put our balancer on. We'll get our banjo bolts for our ABCS on. We'll get our dipstick tube in and our crossover, and we'll call it a night. This will get torqued later. I don't have the flywheel on it, so I'll torque it before I put it in the car. This is our turbo feed line and our AVCS feed. We got our banjo bolt in the back tightened, our banjo bolt up here tightened, and our banjo bolt over here tightened. We can go ahead and put in our crank position sensor. All right, let's go ahead and get this crossover on. Put our O-rings in. Get our crossover.
When you run it out, need to get unstuck, so go off. When you're up against the wall and you cannot fall, so go off, go off, go off. Go off, so go off, go off, go off. Go off. When you run it out, need to get unstuck, so go off. When you're up against the wall and you cannot fall, so go off.
Well, it's getting late here in R&R Garage, and that concludes the episode for the night. We will continue on this another day. Tonight we just got a chance to show you what it looks like to go from a brand new short block from Subaru to a complete long block, almost ready to put in the car. It is ready for this 06 STI. We do have an intake manifold, a turbo and exhaust and motor mounts to put on it, a flywheel and a clutch. And we'll see that in a future episode. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you like, please leave a comment below, like, subscribe, share with a friend of anything that you'd like to see in the future. Again, I appreciate everything that you guys have done for me, the support that you guys are showing me, and I would love to do more in the future. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.